Welcome back to Rhino Mobility. Today we're going to talk about lower leg maintenance, particularly from the knee down. Kelly Starrett, author of MobilityWOD.com, talks about how if there's a particular pain in a joint or whatever, it may not necessarily be the joint. In fact, it rarely is. It's going to be above or below. So today we're going to talk about below the knee, what may be causing that knee pain. We're also going to talk about shin splints and what you can do about that. So in order to make this happen, you need a couple of things. And we're not talking about high-tech stuff here. We're talking about a foam roller, or if you're real hardcore, a piece of PVC, thick piece of PVC. Typically I use a foam roller. My foam roller is missing, so I'm using this. It actually works very well. It's a little hard, but it gets the job done. Lacrosse balls, take two together, they work great, or just a single. Let's go over shin splints real quick. Basically, if you have what you think are shin splints, or if you just have general pain in the anterior portion of your lower leg, a lot of that is you've got inflammation going on. You have it's caused by overuse. Typically, the requirement for getting over that is rest, ice, compression, elevation. You've heard this before, but there are other things that you can do to speed up the process. I'm a big fan of ice. Ice, ice, ice. That's huge. But you can do a lot more to help out with that. So the first thing I like to do is take that foam roller, and I'll just start with that anterior portion of my that anterior muscle right next to the bone there, that tibialis, and just slowly roll down that muscle. You can put as much or as little pressure as you want on that, up and down on there. And this is commonly known as myofascial release. We're breaking apart all that muscles, allowing blood flow in. A lot of that has to do with being able to reduce that inflammation first. So just remember that. Next thing I like to do is hit the backside, hit the calves. I like doing that. I roll my calves out regularly. I think calves have a lot more to do with knee pain and shin pain than most people think. So rolling back and forth on the calves, turn around, turn your leg back and forth. If you find a knot, spend a little time on it. Roll that, twist your leg back and forth. Another thing you can do is put a little pressure on it. If you have a friend to push on it, that's great. Not too many people like doing that. I'll just take a medicine ball or a sandbag and just put a little weight on that leg and roll back and forth on that. That works really well to open up all those muscles, really release a lot of that tension, a lot of that tightness that's going on in the lower leg. The next thing we can do, we can use lacrosse balls for the same thing. I can take a lacrosse ball, find that knot, do the same exact thing. On the double lacrosse ball, I can lean on that, put my tibia right in between the two balls there, and roll back and forth on that. Very, very good way to open up a lot of those muscles. Lacrosse balls are great for the feet too. I kick my shoe off, put a lacrosse ball down, stand on that, or if I'm in a sitting position, you can do that too, and just roll that ball. Your foot makes a triangle. I go from one side to the other, down to the heel and back, and just roll those muscles out. If you ever have any issues with plantar fasciitis or anything like that, that can quite possibly help out a lot with that. When do I do this kind of stuff? Kind of as needed. I don't do it enough, but it should be done regularly, particularly possibly after exercise. Maybe a quick warm-up would be adequate. If you're coming off of an injury, make sure you're adequately rested, adequately reduce the inflammation before you do anything like this. As always, check out MobilityWOD.com for further information. Thank you.